Yeah, I am as well, honestly. It's really strange that we should see a player like that be able to make their way into the top 7. But it evidently does work. His win ratio speaks for itself. He knows what he's doing on the ladder. He's evidently played all of the people in this tournament multiple times before even going into this. And his reputation does certainly precede him. And if I've seen Scarlett weak in anything in this matchup, it's got to be to early pressure. That's really the only chink in her armor as far as I'm concerned. Past about the 10-minute point, Scarlett looks pretty dominant in this matchup. And we are, of course, talking about the player that almost took a 3-0 against SOS.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if Hitman has developed as a player, even if he isn't just pure cheese, if it gets past 10-15 minutes, there's very few players in the world who could stand up to Scarlett. But early game, like you said, that's kind of her weakness, but that's been a lot of Zerg's weakness in ZVP right now. We're seeing a lot of early game shenanigans from Protoss, and a lot of really diverse early game shenanigans. Like I said, there's no 100% safe opening. If you play very safe against a certain thing, it leaves you vulnerable to something else. So she definitely has to watch out for that, especially against someone who's as experienced and practiced in those situations as Hitman is.
Yep, couldn't agree more with that one. All right, folks, we are going into the game right now, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you this man right here, the final soldier. He is the Minuteman. He's guarding the border very much to prevent the Canadian invasion at this point. Will he be able to keep them out? In the southeast position, in the stylish pink trunks, playing Protoss. From SYF Gaming, he is Hitman. Versus his opponent to the northwest position. Making my job as an observer a hell of a lot more difficult by picking purple. Playing Zerg, it is AcerScarlett.
Give them freedom of colors and they immediately pick pink first purple.
Yeah.
This is why we can't have nice things.
I gave the Canadians a taste of freedom. It was a terrible idea.
Too much for them. We're actually going to have a 10 pull immediately out of Scarlett.
Right. Okay.
That's an
interesting start. Oh, temple gas? Ah.
Yeah, she's not canceling it. It's a gas. So, I really like this. I'm a big proponent of if you're playing against someone who is just like shamelessly cheesy. Oh, she's just doing an extractor trick. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say double gas makes very little sense.
If you're playing against someone who is as shamelessly cheesy as Hitman can be, it's often really, really good to take the fight to them immediately, throw them off of whatever build order they're aiming to do, throw them out of their comfort zone, because they're very used to dictating the pace of the game. If you 4-gate or proxy 2-gate or 2-base 8-gate regularly, you're 99% of the time going to be the aggressor. And so when you aren't in that situation anymore, it really, really messes you up. You can't play it as well. So I think this is a really smart tactical decision from Scarlett here.
Yeah, it's a pretty good map to do it on as well. She obviously knows exactly where her opponent is, and the rush distance is not that long. 8 Lings coming in here. She is certainly going to be applying this pressure. The Lings are now on the way already. Cybercore is coming down. If Hitman is not skipping the Zealot, so that will at least give him a shot here. But based on the fact that Scarlett is now sending 8 Lings across the map, how much damage do you expect this to do?
I'd like to point out that she actually swung a Zergling around to check for proxy 2-gates. So I was very, very aware of who she's playing against. And I don't know. I don't really see this doing too much damage unless he cancels the Zealot, which he
is not going to do now, certainly. He just spotted that coming in. The Zealot is there. The second Zealot is now on the way. And I would imagine Chrono Boost will be invested into that fairly rapidly. In comes Scarlett, and an Assimilator goes down there while Hitman is attempting his best to defend the minimal line. So far, he's got a good spot to defend it. He has a very, very close SimCity, which is a little bit difficult to get a full surround in.
Yeah, as long as he controls well, he shouldn't lose anything at all here. Oh, he does lose 1 probe. But at this point, when Protoss opens up this way, the temple becomes more of a containment, map control, buying time sort of thing. You're not really looking to do damage just because you actually can't. So the fact she got a probe there is actually a bit of a win for her, but really just build order-wise, it went well for Hitman. He's just going to be a little bit ahead because of that. He is totally secure now, and Scarlett still hasn't put down a gas, so it's looking like she's probably going to go for a 3rd hatchery. And that can be very, very risky. If he turns this into a quick 4-gate or something, he does have the double gas, so it's not going to be like a 4-gateway Zealot. That would be really, really risky to do in this situation. And the quick he's not going to disappoint. And he still only has 4 probes on gas, so this is very ambitious.
Alright, well, this is certainly turning out to be an interesting start to this series. Anyone expecting Scarlett to take the quick win in 5 minutes is going to be disappointed. Hitman held that about as well as could be expected. And then we have the pylon going in front of the Nexus here, going to start to create a wall of mech scouting difficult. Scarlett's Overlord positioning is not ideal for scouting at this stage. There's an Overlord to the southwest of the Nexus. There is none in position to actually come in from the north at all. So this could certainly go unscouted, and there is the Dark Shrine going down.
Yeah, I'd be very, very surprised if she actually manages to scout this. Although Hitman hasn't walled off just yet, that in itself is a bit of a giveaway. Generally, if you're doing anything, even if you're going fast Stargate, you put those buildings up to the wall pretty much immediately. It's really a priority. But Scarlett hasn't actually seen this, so she's completely in the dark. And Hitman did manage to sneak out a probe. It's hovering around the top right, getting ready to drop down a pylon. And unless it's just going to take some kind of amazing star sense to just drop spores this early blindly, she might be in a little bit of trouble here.
Does she even have an Evo chamber? Nope, absolutely not. And this is 4-gate DT as well. There's 2 Evo chambers going down. They'll take 35 seconds to build, but the Dark Shrine's going to be done in 35. It is possible that she may go for the Spore Crawlers, as you mentioned there, a little bit of Star Sense, but this is a difficult one, and Hitman builds the pylon in range of the Overlord. Okay, that's a bit of a giveaway.
That's very strange. Although, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm giving you too much credit, but it might be some kind of epic mind games, because generally you would only put a pylon that aggressively if you're going for like a 4-gate Zealot Stalker, very heavy pressure. You don't.
I think you're right. She's gone 3 spines. Now he's going to warp in DTs.
That's actually really smart, because you just don't do that if you're going DT. DT is supposed to be like hidden, like very just risky cheese. It's not like in your face, I'm gonna kill you.
Well, Scarlett's in a lot of trouble now. These queens are gonna get stabbed very quickly. The spores begin, but these DTs are already on it. I mean, this could be game right here.
Pretty much. Scarlett's gonna end up way, way behind at the very best. Hitman already has an expansion up. This isn't like a 1-base all-in or anything, and he's already done enough damage to justify it. It's 2-base versus 2-base. She's losing all her drones. Those DTs shouldn't die anytime soon if he controls. That's a massive, massive advantage for Hitman.
That was a really nice start, I've got to say. This is going to be a way more interesting series, I think, than a lot of people gave it credit for. The Spore has finally finished, but it's not quite in range, so these spines are going to get stabbed down. The Lair's on the way, but Overseers are too far away, I think, at this point to even be a factor in this game. Spines are now going down, additional DTs.
He can actually just kill her with DTs. If he just runs in and attack moves, he kills her.
Yeah, and I think he realizes that. He just needs to take that spine out. That's perhaps the biggest threat. Transfuse goes down. A couple of time warps in here as well. Good engagements here from Hitman, and down goes the spine as well. And as you said, he can just go for it at this point. The queens are going to get absolutely obliterated. There's so many Dark Templar overrunning the natural at this point. The Spore Crawler is going to get focused down here. The queen just explodes in a pile of viscera. And there's the GG, and Hitman takes the first in this best-of-5 series. Okay, well, we're going to be going into the next game very shortly. Scarlett versus Hitman on Polar Night. Hitman is ready to rock and roll. Just going to wait for Scarlett and make sure that she's ready. The 10 pull was an interesting choice, I feel. I wonder if Scarlett's just going to try and play straight up standard now. I
think she will. The 10 pull failed just pretty abruptly. There wasn't, and Hitman didn't do anything particularly special. He just did what you're supposed to do. He started up the Zealot. He had the probe out there watching the timing. Scarlett actually tried to dance back and deny vision, hoping that he would cancel the Zealot, because that's pretty common. We actually saw that happen with Minigun yesterday. But he got wind of it. He kept the Zealot out, and that just kind of ended it. She got a single probe for her efforts, and we saw how far behind she was. Because that build seemed very, very fast and very, very powerful, but it's important to keep in mind that Scarlett was actually quite far behind in terms of drones and expansion timing, so that's part of what made it look so powerful.
All right, well, Game 2 is on its way, folks. It's going to be Polar Night Scarlett versus Hitman, with a rather surprise early victory there from Hitman with a very clever build. But how many times can you really pull something like that out and expect it to work?
Well, you said he had the most games played on the ladder, and he has a pretty good win percentage, and he literally does this kind of thing every single game. So, apparently quite a bit.
Indeed. Alright, well, let's see if Scarlett can deal with it. Will Scarlett play more standard, try and force the mid to late game where she is effectively unbeatable in this matchup? We're going to find out, folks. Polar Night will be the venue for today's encounter for this one. I'm looking forward to it, especially since this series got very, very interesting very, very quickly.
And it's so intimidating to play against someone like this when you're down a game, because there is a bit of a luck factor in what they do. Sometimes they will just win on build orders because things happen to go their way. It's almost impossible to prevent it every game. So if you're down, then the intimidation of just losing the series based on that kind of thing can really get into your head. And she's a very experienced player. She's played in a lot of tournaments. She's been one of the most prolific players in the last couple of months. So she should mostly be over that. She's clearly a good competitive player. She's not going to be too tilted, I don't think. But it's still kind of scary, and it's still a very real worry that something silly is going to happen.
Yeah, it's certainly the case. All right, folks, here we go. Polar Night is the venue for today's encounter, featuring AcerScarlett in the purple trunks playing Zerg to the north versus her opponent to the south position from Team SYF, sponsored by TT Esports. It is none other than Hitman in the pink trunks playing Protoss with a one-map lead in this best-of-5 series.
I'm really curious to see how Scarlett is actually going to open up here, because, like I said, there's just no great opening against an aggressive Protoss right now. If you go hatchery first, you can very easily die to a cannon rush or a proxy 2-gate. If you go pool first, you're really, really vulnerable versus gateway expansion into 4-gate. And she is going with the hatchery first, so this works out really well for her, given that he's going gateway first.
Yeah.
These are like the builds that she's looking for in this situation. So that's quite good for her. It's also a bit of a risk. I'm kind of surprised she was willing to do that. I guess she's just pegged him as a gateway expansion player at this point.
That's certainly a possibility. I don't know how many times she's hit him on ladder. A few times, I know that, but not too many. And as you said, this is a little bit of a tricky map to really open safe. And she's sort of got to roll the dice a little bit and just say, all right, well, if he's going to do a cannon rush, then I'm going to have to just deal with that. I'm confident that my control is good enough. I'm confident my decision-making is good enough to at least minimize the damage that it does. That would be my assumption at this stage. In the meantime, Hitman, so far so standard, honestly, opening up with the Zealot once again, which is absolutely understandable, considering that his opponent decided to go for a 10 pull in the first map.
Yeah, see if he's going to cancel it this time. Yes, he did cancel it, so with that probe scout out there, he knows he's not getting 10 pull. He cancels that, goes for the quick Mothership Core and Nexus. So very normal from him. We haven't seen a second gas just yet, so this could be turning into 4-gateway Zealot. And that's a build. At IEM the other weekend, I think Protoss actually went like 8-1 opening up with this kind of thing. Wow. And San beat literally every Zerg. He just had it so well. But San actually, it seems kind of strange because there's not a whole lot of variables to that kind of style. It's like, well, it's a 4-gateway Zealot rush. You make Zealots and you kill them. But he's actually very, very good at judging just how many Zealots to make, just exactly when to attack, and applying just the right amount of pressure without actually sacrificing the Zealots and keeping Zerg really on edge. So there's actually a decent amount of intricacies to it, but as I say that, the second gas goes down and he starts up a Stalker, so we will not be seeing that this game.
Indeed. It makes me wonder what exactly we will be seeing from Hitman, whether it will be a relatively standard 2-base play or something more sinister. I'm looking forward to finding out. In the meantime, as you said, Scarlett is just rock-solid standard at the moment with 2 queens, but 2 more on the way here.
The Zergling Scout is actually getting into Hitman's main right now. But, I mean, there wasn't too much for it to see besides that there was a Stalker out. So, she did see 2 gas, so she knows she doesn't have to worry about 4-gateway Zealot. So that's a pretty nice perk for her. And we do have a second Stalker coming out from Hitman. I'm not sure if he's going to get aggressive here or not. But Scarlett didn't go for quick speedling, so he has nothing to worry about if he does. Not going to get trapped and killed or anything.
Yep, there's actually going to be a Stargate behind this, interestingly enough, from Hitman.
That is quite interesting, because that's pretty much the most straight-up opening from this situation. That's not really what people would expect from Hitman. Although it still can turn into something funky. I'm not sure if I've ever seen him do a Voidray Warp Gate all-in or not, but that would be the cheesiest option off of this kind of opening.
And of course, you've got to watch out, I suppose, for pegging a player in a particular way. The reputation of a player, as we've seen many times before, can be used against their opponent simply because expectations are set and then they suddenly break out something different.
Scarlett's actually flying in an Overlord. She's going to see the tech. Oh, then Circling's going to get there anyway. So yeah, she does see the Stargate opening. She might lose a queen in the meantime, though.
She's managed to get it out of there, actually. Really nice control there by Scarlett, and Hitman really wants that queen. Has done a little bit more damage, a couple more shots come off, but I think Scarlett's baited him in quite nicely here, and this could be a lost Mothership Core, actually, in trade for that queen.
He lost a Stalker and a Mothership Core, so that was really not a good trade for him, especially given that she opened up with additional queens anyway. That was really quite silly to pursue that so much.
This Oracle's an interesting choice.
That's why he was going so hard to try and get the queen. He wanted to eliminate the queen so the oracles could actually do damage, but as is, it's not really going to accomplish anything. She already has the spores coming down. She has the additional queen as well. So this is going to be a very, very comfortable opening for her. And she is going for the very heavy 2-base play. There's double upgrades coming out. just securing everything, getting 4 gases up before taking a third base. So she is trying to just play very conservatively, just acknowledging that Hitman's going to do something, and she just wants to survive it and get into the mid game at any cost.
Yep, well, this Oracle is not going to do all that much. It's really not going to find a way in and actually do any damage, as far as I'm concerned. It's okay, I guess, to have an Oracle around, because Revelation is still quite a nice ability. So it would be reasonable, I suppose, to try and keep it alive, but at the end of the day, it's still a harassment unit, and if you can't actually harass with it, then good luck making that worthwhile.
Yeah, the best thing he's going to be able to do with it now, he is going Void Ray, so I feel like he's probably going to do some kind of Void Ray Warp Gate pressure. And what you can do there is you can use your Oracle for detection to take out the creep tumors, and potentially, if they happen to rush out Burrow or anything like that. So he will probably just end up having to use it for that. Quite a few Void Rays coming out, and adding gateways one at a time. Not really what... Oh, there goes the extra 3. So it is indeed going to be a Void Ray Warp Gate all-in.
Alright, well, let's see how effective that is. Currently, it is against Ling only, with double upgrades about to finish here. Lair is about to complete as well. She can go straight into 2-2 if she so desires. How much gas has she taken? She actually has all 4 mining right now. Infestation Pit goes down immediately after the Lair completes, though.
That's not particularly ideal. You kind of want to go Hydra Ling here, but she doesn't... She hasn't sent in a secondary Overlord. Actually, putting down a lot of Spine Crawlers. I guess she does know what it is, and she just wants to get up to Ling Infestor. If the Infestors get out, especially if she gets some extra Queens, it'll absolutely shut it down. But with that many Spine Crawlers and only 2 sentries for Force Fields against Mass Ling, this Hitman's gonna need a miracle to make this work.
Yeah, that's assuming that Hitman can even stop the attack, and there's 4 more of those force field sentries coming in, and the Lings are actually coming in to try and cut off those reinforcements. Scarlett decides not a little bit indecisive there, decides not to commit, and loses some Lings there, but there were so many force fields, committing was just a massive risk.
Yeah, if she got caught, if she loses all those Zerglings, he can just kind of attack and kill her, so she does have to be a little bit careful. But lots more Zerglings coming in, 2-2 starred as well as the Pathogen Glands, and it looks like he's probably going to be able to kill the 3rd hatchery here, but Scarlett's counterattacking. I'm not sure if it's going to turn into anything real.
Well, she's working on the...
Lot of Zerglings.
It is a lot of Zerglings. That's 54 actually on the field right now. And the creep spread is actually phenomenal here from Scarlett and has allowed a hell of a lot of warning to come in. She knows exactly where the army is and what's going to be happening with it. And that's broken down. The force fields are coming in right here, but Lings are starting to flood in and do damage regardless. More Lings coming in, and this could just be a straight up death. Recall is forced right there, which is exactly, I think, what Scarlett was looking to do. Manages to get Lings into the main base, though, and gets into the probe line and deals massive economic damage.
Yeah, really poor force fields from Hitman there. He just didn't finish off his wall in time once the gateways fell. So he's lost 3 gateways, he's lost a ton of probes, and he killed a 3rd hatchery, but it was just a naked hatchery. There was no mining there to begin with. So this is really, really not good for him. Next time he gets there, there's going to be Infestors. And Infestors plus static defense against Zealots and Sentries, she's going to be able to survive just absolutely forever. And with those 2-2 upgrades against not even a Forge yet for Hitman, he doesn't really want to go late game here. I think he is just going to try and all in. He knows he doesn't scale as well as she does.
Yeah, this was really nicely handled by Scarlett, actually, after an early loss. Evidently not rattled whatsoever. Scarlett's creep spread is absurd and obscene, as it always is. And here it comes. Hitman coming in with everything he's got. Void Rays might be pretty good, and they are. I mean, he does have 6 of them, but against Ling Infestor, especially stacked Void Rays, that could be a real risk for him.
Yeah, that's a lot of Infestors. The only thing that worries me for Scarlett, she doesn't have a ton of Queens, but I think that's enough Infestors to really compensate for it.
Well, that initial Fungal was quite nice. Let's see if we can get any more. We saw some fantastic games from her at NorthCon against Elfie, where she basically just built nothing but Infestors. That is... No one wants to go up against that kind of wall. That is absolutely absurd.
She couldn't have gotten a better Fungal. He couldn't have been
That was lovely.
That was disgusting.
Oh, God. They're all... This is... The fight is over in about 5 seconds. GG.
Well, she made that look kind of easy.
That was crushing. That was absolutely crushing.
I don't know. This is a tough map for Protoss, in my opinion. The 3rd base is so hard to take. But Hitman doesn't really care about taking 3rd bases, so I guess that's pretty okay for him.
Yeah, seems to work, honestly. It's very odd to see Star Station sort of with kind of a couple of its limbs amputated and then put back into the map pool. I believe that is actually going away next season, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, a lot of players don't particularly like this map. I'm not sure why. I don't think there's anything too terrible about it compared to a lot of the other maps that are in competition. Third base is kind of hard to take. That can be frustrating for a lot of players, but otherwise, meh. It's neither here nor there.
All right. Well, we'll see how it goes, because this, of course, will be the breakpoint. Will Hitman be able to pull out something interesting once again? Because Scarlett did seem to dominate him pretty hard in the last game.
Yeah, she made that look pretty easy.
I absolutely agree with that. So, let's see what he can do. To the northwest position here on Star Station TE. For Team SYF in the pink trunks playing Protoss, it is Hitman. Versus his opponent, who is currently not building anything. It's a 9 pool coming out from the Zerg in the purple trunks to the southeast. It is AcerScarlett.
Well, if a 10 pool doesn't work, try it a little bit faster.
Yeah.
See if that helps out. Hitman just going for gateway expansion again, or at least a gateway first. And he's been pretty consistent with building that zealot early and then scouting. So I don't know how much you can really expect this to do. I'm not sure if she's expecting him to mix it up and like trying to play mind games, because she went hatch first last game. So maybe she expects him to go some kind of cannon rush, or at least Nexus first this game.
I think she's rolled the dice pretty well here. This is 14 supply right now, and Hitman hasn't built
Actually,
anything yet.
Huh. Well, if that's the case, it's going to work out. Yeah, at this point,
Oh.
definitely going to be just a blind Nexus first. And he's a kind of... He either all-ins or he does a very greedy build. Like, I'd be very surprised if he actually probe scouts here. And at this point, it's pretty much too late to really make much of a difference anyway. So...
Yep.
Yep, and the probe just heads back into the main. So this is going to be a complete surprise, and there's not going to be a whole lot you can do about it.
Not
He does
really.
have the pylon in the main, so he can drop a cannon, but the forge hasn't even started yet.
Yeah. And this is not exactly a map with a huge rush.
And he goes gateway.
Oh dear.
He deserves this. blind Nexus first into gateway, and then a pylon. Absolutely deserved. 6 slings coming across the map. It's up to 8. He might just die here. With good
Yeah, he
control,
could.
she can kind of just kill him.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he pulls out some miracle probe micro, and he would need it. I mean, I still like the fact that he builds his buildings in such a way that it makes things a little bit narrower, but right now what we're seeing is like the gateway right up against the Nexus, which doesn't actually help him in any way. He hasn't protected his mineral line, and knock knock. Who's there? 6 Zerglings.
I think that gateway is covered by both pylons, so it's not going to get deactivated, but really, he's just going to lose so many probes. She already has her expansion coming.
Well, let's see how good Hitman's control really is. So far, he hasn't lost a probe, but that will eventually happen. The pylon is being worked on. The Zealot is being chrono boosted. So far, still no probes. I gotta say, Hitman is actually holding this fairly well, considering now he starts to lose the probes.
Yeah, he's lost 2 thus far. He's going to lose that pylon. And the gateway is still powered. But
Yeah.
with that many Zerglings there, 1 Zealot is not going to be enough. As long as she doesn't get trapped by the probes. Probes can be deceptively strong against Zerglings if they get a good engagement.
Yeah. So far, 5 workers killed. Would you say this has been a good investment so far for her?
Certainly has. The Nexus did finish, and if he could somehow stabilize right now and just run off the 2 Nexus while she's just getting her hatchery up, it's kind of okay. But it's going to be a while before that happens. Getting a second Zealot out, but she's just going to kind of run him around and harass. And he actually loses the Zealot here.
Oh,
That was just kind of a silly mistake on his part.
Yeah, nice little surround there by Scarlett. She did lose 2 links, so that certainly decreases the amount of damage output that can happen here against this Nexus. The Nexus certainly will not die, but losing a Zealot and 6 workers here.
He's going
And
to lose
that's
another Zealot, too.
Yeah.
This is just...
a little silly.
It's just kind of...
Yeah, I'm not really sure why he decided to do that. He could have waited for the mothership core. There's really no reason to go out there.
Yeah, none whatsoever. A Zealot versus 6 links loses every time. He's
Yeah.
certainly aware of that. Just kind of sloppy play from him.
Do you think it's maybe panic mode for someone that really isn't all that tournament experienced?
Kind of could be, because by not all that tournament experience, I don't think he's ever played a tournament before.
I don't think so.
At least not to my knowledge, and certainly not anything of this scale. So he could definitely be freaking out a little bit. Yeah. So Scarlett, actually, if we look at the work again, it's actually dead even, and
Yeah.
it's 2 Nexus versus 2 hatcheries. So it's it's not a lost situation for Hitman, but Scarlett's very comfortable right now. She already has her extra queens out. She's starting to get up double gas. Not going to take a 3rd hatchery again. Just not going to bother with that. Not worth the risk against this guy.
Yeah. I think to me, it just seems like we still put Hitman maybe slightly behind, just because losing 2 Zealots and a pylon alongside 6 workers, I think does maybe put him slightly behind, but I mean, I've got to give him credit. He didn't lose his entire probe line. You know, he did a decent job, especially for about 45 seconds. He actually hadn't lost a single probe and was delaying those lings quite well. So all credit to him for that.
Yeah, he definitely didn't panic, and he did essentially the greediest build in the Protoss arsenal against one of the most aggressive builds that any Zerg will do, and definitely did not panic, really kept his cool and made the best of it. And they're still pretty even in terms of harvester count, and with only 2 hatcheries, Scarlett's not going to pull that far ahead. Not as far ahead as you'd normally expect with a Zerg. And with that quick robo coming, yeah, anything could happen. But Scarlett's playing so conservatively now, I don't know, I'd be very surprised if she really lets this work. And he actually went an Observer first. That was strangely conservative from him. And an Immortal. So, an Immortal with a Forge, so it's not going to be the strongest possible all-in.
Yeah, he's not dedicated to that, certainly. And I wonder if Hitman actually decides just to play as straight up as possible, expecting his opponent to go super conservative.
Nope.
Never mind.
Not at all. So he's going 2 Gateway Colossus. And back when he was like absurdly cheesy, literally just 4 gates and proxy 2 gates, if you forced him into a macro game somehow, 2-base Colossus was his go-to. So this is well within his comfort zone. Is he actually going to show that Immortal? It's just sanding out there. Zerglings could have seen it. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not. Because that can kind of work out. If you tell your opponent you're going to do an Immortal all-in, they make just like too many roaches, or they rush up to Hydras in particular, and then you move out later with a big heavy Colossus army, it kind of pays off.
Yeah.
Not sure if he's really thinking it through that much, though.
Possibly. I mean, if Game 1 decision-making was anything to go by, then he is a tricky player. And I really feel that all-in players, very much, they've got to be good at 2 things. They've got to be good at execution, because, of course, if they fail their execution, then that's GG. But they've also got to be good at, at least making some interesting decisions that are a little bit tricky, a little bit less obvious.
Yeah, absolutely. If you become predictable as a cheeser, that's the end of you. You have to be able to mix it up, if nothing else. Adding more gateways, getting Thermal Lance. This is going to be probably a later Colossus all-in, because he is upgrading. He doesn't have a ton of gateways just yet. Oh, there goes the gateway. Boom. I don't know if he's going to go out with 2 or wait for a bigger army. And the big thing here is he's against the Zergling style. She's doing the exact same, the Zergling Infestor stuff. She has a 4th hatchery, she has really good creep spread, so she is going to have the opportunity to go for big surrounds and flanks and whatnot. But when it comes down to it, that's still Zerglings against Colossus, which is really, really bad.
Yeah, that generally doesn't work out so well, and Scarlett's control is good. We've seen her certainly pick off the Colossus with Zerglings in the past, but it's ridiculously risky and usually doesn't work anyway. It involves the... did she see that Colossus there? Ooh, I don't think so.
It was right on the edge. I'm not sure. She had vision of it, but I don't think she was looking. I don't think she noticed, because we don't see any kind of big response from her. 4 spine crawlers.
6 spine crawlers.
Oh,
jeez.
6 spine.
She's going to play the same defensive style with the Infestors, but this is what she used against... Oh, never mind. This could actually be the end of this army who's sitting out there. The Colossus is definitely spotted now. The Lings get force-fielded out, though, so this is not working out amazingly well for Scarlett at this point. The Immortals are still alive. Warpin comes in, and that was a substantial chunk of Lings that got caught out there.
Yeah, and he only lost 1 or 2 sentries. And I thought he was going to take a 3rd Nexus, maybe, and I actually think that would be a really good decision right now. Just take that 3rd Nexus and then do a slightly later timing rush with the 4 Colossus. Because against the Zergling Infestor style, if you get past the point where you can be overwhelmed by Zerglings, it just can't really do anything. I think that would be a better timing for him, but it looks like he's just going to go for the kill here. And this is still pretty scary for her.
Yeah.
Because he has those 2 Colossus, he can just kind of beat down the Spine Crawlers. There's almost no Zerglings out. And Infestors, as good as they looked last game, she doesn't have nearly as many here, and they're not half as good against Colossus as they are against Fortress.
No, absolutely not. She can't really rely on those infested Terrans. She's trying for a counterattack, but not with a large amount of Lings. At the moment, she's relying on her creep spread to delay this attack as much as possible, but Hitman's not going to wait. These Lings are running into Colossus beams, and I have a feeling that Scarlett may have misread this.
Yeah, I think he could actually just attack move here. As long as he doesn't get caught by huge fungals, I think he can just kind of attack move and kill her. Or he can just sit back with Colossus and beat on her. But one way or the other, Scarlett's in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, this is pretty messy. The Spine Crawlers are doing as good a job as can be expected here. Mothership Core almost goes down there. Lings come in from the back, but not enough to flank and kill the Colossus. This army really isn't going anywhere at this point, and Scarlett is melting pretty rapidly here.
Yeah, those Immortals just sitting there doing a lot of work. The Colossus as well. And like even if she cleans up the Zealots, I don't know how she ever kills those Colossus. Her Infestors are out of mana. There's not very many Zerglings here, and she has no other tech available.
GG. This has become a series. This is a series. Fine. All right, folks. Did you expect this? Didn't think so. Scarlett is facing elimination on match point right here against an unknown American player by the name of Hitman, who has put on some rather fantastic showings. Let's see if he can do it again here on Derelict Watcher, or will Scarlett's experience win over, and will she be able to pull this back?
This is such a confusing series for me emotionally, because seeing Hitman beat the best foreigner in the world with the same stuff that he's done to me on ladder over and over, that is so absolutely infuriating to play against. It's satisfying in a kind of perverted kind of way, but then at the same time, Scarlett absolutely deserves to and should win, and so I feel kind of bad for her dealing with this.
But does she really deserve to win if she doesn't scout well?
Yes, she does.
Okay, fine.
there are enough other merits here that she's, yeah. But she does. I don't know why she didn't scout. She really she needs to do that. That's a very simple, very silly mistake to make in this situation.
All right, well, let's see what happens here. I am very interested to see what else can come out of these two Nexus that Hitman so very much likes to build. So, to the northeast position, playing for Team SYF Gaming, currently up 2-1. Match point, his opportunity to go on to the round of 4 to face off against E.G. Huck. He is Hitman. Versus his opponent to the southwest position, called by many the best foreign in the world, coming off a finals placement in Asus NorthCon, but now facing elimination from ShoutCraft America. In the purple trunks playing Zerg, it is AcerScarlett.
I do think Huck vs. Hitman would produce the better semifinal. I don't feel like... Because Huck is also a very aggressive player, but not in the same kind of tricky way, and more so of a, I'm going to put pressure on you and do it with good control kind of thing, and I feel like Scarlett would be very well suited to deal with that. Whereas Huck vs. Hitman would just be absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I've got to say, as much as I disdain the notion of having PvP in the semifinals, that would probably be the better one if we were going to see that. The semis, if Scarlett gets through, obviously Scarlett versus Huck is going to be an incredible semifinals. Both the semifinals are going to be great, with the defending champion going up against Marsa. That's very much a rematch from the first season. Hitman opening up here with a Nexus first, straight into a gateway, whereas Scarlett went with a hatch first.
Same as the previous game, and this really is pretty much the greediest build, although last game he held like pretty okay against a 9-pool with it, so I guess it's understandable for him to keep going with it. But this, just, you get that Nexus first, which of course, very, very strong economy, and then you don't even bother with the Forge, so you still get your gateway timings, or your very quick tech, or whatever you would normally get, just a few seconds later than if you actually went gateway first. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for Hitman, as long as he can survive stuff, and he's shown that he can, so...
So what do you want to see out of Scarlett? Because what we saw last time was, again, this Ling Infestor style that it worked beautifully in Game 2, and it worked several times at NorthCon as well, but against the 2-base Colossus it evidently doesn't. So what kind of composition do we need to see from Scarlett here?
The 2-base Colossus really throws a wrench in things, because 2-base... like very defensive 2-base Ling Infestor can shut down pretty much anything else, because you get the Infestors out in time to shut down an Immortal all-in or a Blink Stalker all-in, and with the early masses of upgraded Lings and her willingness to drop down a bunch of Spine Crawlers at a drop of a hat, she can hold pretty much anything else. While the 2-base Colossus really just messes it up pretty badly. We've seen Lenok play similar styles in the past and go for a very quick like 2-base Spire against Colossus, and that can work, especially because Hitman basically plays it without Stalkers. He basically just goes Zealot, Sentry, Colossus. So that could work, but it's a little bit risky. If it gets scouted, you are on 2-base Muta, which is a very, very fragile style. So maybe just open up 2-base Ling and then scout a little bit better, go Spire if necessary, otherwise go Infestor. Yeah, especially if she's stuck on that style, that is definitely what she should do.
Yeah, it's interesting that she's had to fight against so many top Protoss players, and now is fighting against somebody that doesn't actually play that way. And things are not looking as comfortable for Scarlett as we're used to in this matchup. And good God, that's 6 gateways. That
is 6 gateways. And this is off the Nexus first.
7.
7. That's going to be 8. Yeah, he 8 gates a lot. And this is all off 1 gas, so it's going to be like 4 Stalkers and the rest Zealots. But again, this is another build Hitman does quite a bit on ladder. He's very comfortable with. She plays enough ladder. She's probably seen him do it before. That doesn't make it any easier to deal with, though. Oh, she's putting down double Evo. She doesn't really know. She hasn't even started Speedling yet. Oh, this is really bad. She might just die. Oh, no. She hasn't started a spine crawler or anything.
This is really surprising. Like, she's basically being caught out by, I suppose, NA ladder strategies.
She saw the probe coming, too. There she drops the spine. She still hasn't started Speedling. And one spine crawler is not doing anything against 8 Gateway Zealot. And Warp Gate's finished.
She's done the same thing. I mean, she hasn't attempted to scout the main. Obviously, that's a little bit difficult with this map and the Overlord placement, but no attempt to scout the main whatsoever. She sees the 3 gates at the front here. I mean, she's got to be expecting something is coming, but 20 lings, as you said, no speed. She's going to be fighting on creep, of course, but only one spine crawler?
Yeah, and she might be able to hold the initial wave because there's not a whole lot of Zealots in it, but he's about to warp in 8 more, so I don't know. I don't think it's physically possible for her to hold this. The spine crawler goes down, and now it's a bunch of slow lings against 8 Gateway Protoss units. That's not a good equation for the Zerg.
No, it really is not. And Hitman could be looking to pull off the biggest upset of the tournament here. We're kind of joking as to whether or not he can prevent ShoutCraft Canada, but he took us seriously, and he's looking to do just that right now. Scarlett trying to hold on as best as she can, but a queen goes down here. The Link's taken out as well. This 8 gate is looking incredibly strong as we go forward here. Can Scarlett actually hold it?
All our transfuses are gone. Spine crawlers are coming up. The stalkers can focus those down, and spine crawlers against zealots aren't that good anyway without any support. More and more links coming up, but still no speedling, and she's going to start running out of production. She pulled all of her queens, no larva in checks. That's the end of it.
This is a very big surprise, a huge upset in this tournament. Hitman is dancing stalkers. This is really unexpected. I mean, this is going to be huge for Hitman to actually take out a player of this caliber. GG, Hitman does it. Scarlett is out of the tournament.